Okay, guys, so welcome to the URBONUS podcast. I'm the host, Donatas URBONUS. I'm joined by Augustas Šiliauskas, Rytis Vyšniauskas. No time for creative and funny intros this time, guys. So let's talk about the main action. We'll go through all four quarterfinal games of FIBA World Cup 2023 and share our semifinal predictions. Is that fine with you, gentlemen?
Of course. Let's do it.
Let's go for it.
Let's start from the most emotional quarterfinal game. Slovenia, Canada, a lot of emotions behind that back-to-back Slovenia elimination in the quarterfinals. And just before sharing our opinions, our takes about the game and what was around the game, just let's say short note from my side. I love to watch Luka Doncic. For me, he's like the Mozart of basketball. Pure act of art, let's say, on a basketball court, which I'm grateful to witness in person. It's incredible how he makes Slovenia team so much better, and those guys also deserve a huge credit for making it into the quarterfinals. I didn't necessarily see them going that far, but listen, Tokyo Olympics 2021. Slovenians lose their minds against Australia. They freak out about the refereeing and lose the bronze medal game. Luka takes blame for getting too much into the distractions, but admits he's 22 and he got to learn from it. EuroBasket 2022. Luka Doncic gets fouled out in the middle of the fourth quarter. Slovenia lose to Poland in the EuroBasket quarterfinal game, and one of these personal fouls was technical foul for discussions with the referee. World Cup 2023. Luka Doncic gets ejected from the game in the beginning of the fourth quarter with more than 7 minutes to play, I think. Both technicals for arguing with the referees. I mean, there has to be a point where Slovenia should stop this game, Slovenia against the world of referees, because it really hurts them. And Luka Doncic, although he took responsibility after this game for not handling these emotions, he should stop taking responsibility for that, and instead he should take action to deal with the issue, because I think that it hurts a lot him, not just in FIBA basketball, but in the NBA basketball, because I had to rewatch this game just, to convince myself, because watching the game live in person in the Mall of Asia Arena, I was like, it doesn't look that bad. The refereeing doesn't look that bad as you can think watching all these emotions boiling over on Slovenia bench, and Luka Doncic basically complaining about the referees from the tip-off. So I felt really it was really draining experience to watch it all over again, and to see so many unnecessary emotions. Also starting from Luka, who complains to referees even when they make a foul call, and those emotions translate to his teammates. And then you see situations when you there's a clear foul on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shooting the ball. Then you see Chabashik also, hitting hands of RG Barrett or even Shai during the drive. And you see them, complaining to the ref like it was a huge mistake. I mean, and the worst part, Luka Doncic making this money sign, not just passing the referees, but also it felt like he was watching toward the VIP tribune where the FIBA executives were seated, and showing this sign throughout the entire game. Few times, there were a few occasions, and then coming to the press conference, where's this platform, to speak about this thing, and when he's asked about it, what does it mean, what it's all about, he says nothing. For me, it's not cool, and I love Slovenia team, I love Luka Doncic, but I just cannot handle it anymore as a journalist, as a basketball fan in general, and as a Slovenian basketball fan. So that's my 2 cents about the game.
To me, your points that you made is, I absolutely agree. And probably the most important part of it is, I think that, Luka is the leader of the team, and the way he behaves translates to all of his teammates. And not only you see Luka, who is getting mad at the calls, who is even making smirky faces or smiles after he gets called, after the opponents get called for a foul, but also then his teammates start to do exactly the same thing. Slovenians lose their mind, and after playing well in the first half, you know, one reason why they lost in the second half was their emotions, because they cannot simply handle it. And I'm pretty sad that we have to talk about this instead of the great game we had, the game plans, the Luka versus Shai, the other guys stepping up. But Slovenians actually made, us talk about it first, because it was just the main story after the game was refereeing, basically what they did throughout the game, what they mentioned in the interviews after. I know emotions running high in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. It's probably the most important game, of the tournament, because you don't get to play for the medals if you lose. But I don't buy this argument that the emotions are running high only because you're playing for your nation. That's not the real reason. And Luka has to learn. Luka has to learn. He has been saying that for 3 years, but he hasn't taken a step in front. And Shai was a perfect example. And I wrote that on Twitter, that Shai was calm and collected throughout all the game. And one response I got was that, hey, I would be calm if I got 16 free throws. But it's not like he got calls for every situation he was involved. He got calls for those situations where you slap the ball, slap his hand, not the ball, when he is driving towards the rim, where the Slovenians move and got a blocking foul instead of offensive foul for Shai. So Shai was calm and collected all the game. Canada kept their cool. Luka did not. His teammates followed his example. And in the second half, I thought it was kind of a big reason why they lost.
I mean, he actually stayed on the court much longer than expected, because he got his first technical pretty early. And then even this trash talking to the FIBA officials or whoever he was shouting at and throwing money signs and all that, that's a punishable act, in my opinion. You can give a technical for it as well, because once he got his first technical, he stopped talking to the referees. Instead, he found other targets and other people to blame.
And just to add, when he got the technical, he started, let's say, endorsing his head coach Sekulic to make pressure on referees. He even shouted at him, to be more vocal about that.
It is, and you remember Mikal Bridges showing a 3-finger sign to the Italian bench. That got a
straight to Gigi Datome. Of course, that's taunting. That's a technique, and you don't need to go as far as the Team USA game. In that same game, before Luka getting ejected, Dillon Brooks, who already had an unsportsmanlike foul, he was just taunting, I think, Klemen Prepelic after a 3-pointer. Going into timeout, he was just trash talking straight to his face, and he was disqualified from the game. He was ejected. He got a technical foul in European rules, unsportsmanlike foul plus a technical is an automatic ejection. So it's not like there were some double standards or anything like that. And everything has been said already. You said everything. You summed it up perfectly. And I just want to say, look, I mean, maybe you're used to getting some respect calls because you're Luka Doncic, but it doesn't mean that the referees have to go that way. I mean, you bump straight into Lu Dort, take a wild fadeaway shot, and you expect to get 2 free throws because you bumped a guy. He didn't do nothing to you. He was just standing his ground, and you bumped into him. And then you're complaining that there's no foul call. I don't really have any problem with the refereeing in this game or in the competition itself. I mean, it's been fine so far. Nothing much to complain about. So, yeah, we've spent 10 minutes talking about this issue, so maybe we should just move on to basketball finally.
Yeah, just the last thing. I also agree. There were a few occasions when actually Luka was kind of, fishing for a foul with Dillon Brooks, just trying to grab him, and to make some contact. So yeah, he was also, initiating those contacts and those situations to make referee's job even harder. But I had the same question at the press conference for Luka, and I asked them actually to rank where they see, what separates them from making it to the podium, and where they see in this ranking the problem of handling the emotions. To be honest, I think that there are a few things that separates them from winning medals, historical medals for Slovenia in basketball, of course, except from the 2017 Eurobasket gold. It is talent, which is obvious, and it's not like you can do something about it. I mean, of course, it's very bad that Latko Čančar got injured, Edo Muric got injured, but even if they were on a team, still you cannot say that the Slovenia team is very talented team compared to other teams except from Luka Doncic. This is what you cannot control, but you can easily control the emotions. And I think that the emotions, the lack of handling emotions, and of course the lack of we kind of repeated ourselves that they don't look too serious about these national team competitions with their discipline, with their professionalism. I'm not sure if I would rank this reason higher than lack of emotions management, but let's say these are things that you can control, and I hoped it already last year, but I hoped it this year as well, but hope that in the future Slovenia will do something about it, because two of these three factors that separate them from the podium are controllable. So yeah, we can continue with basketball related stuff.
Okay, finally, now we can start a podcast. So basketball wise, we expected to have a great game. We expected Jordi Fernandez to throw bodies on Luka. Dillon Brooks was doing a hell of a job, and at the same time he was doing all the right things on offense. The man deserves a lot of credit because he basically saved Team Canada versus Spain, and in this game he also hit some big shots. And Canada has this sort of weakness that they don't have enough shooters on the floor, and sometimes it's going to be hard for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to be their primary offensive option if other teams go double or even triple him and force him to pass the ball. But in this game, they got the flow early. People started making shots. Even those people that maybe Slovenia wanted to see shooting the ball, like Ludor, they were making shots as well. Guys like Mikhail Alexander-Walker were making plays, and everything was just clicking. Like, Slovenia managed to match them in terms of offense by amazing shooting. They got 3-point shots from Krepelic, from Doncic, from Nikolic. I think they were like close to 70% after the first half.
10 of 17.
So the game was 50-50. 10 of 17, yeah. And the game was 50-50, literally 50-50. That was the score. But I could sense that Canada is a third quarter team. They've proven it versus France. They've proven it versus Latvia. When they had a close score and then they hit in the third quarter. So I was expecting to see more of the same. And basically that's what happened. In the third quarter, Canada got even more physical, even more aggressive. And RJ Barrett finally got to play the game the way he wants. He wants to run in the open court. He wants to have all these coast-to-coast finishes. He didn't make his spot-up shots. He had great opportunities, but in the end, his performance was a huge help to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And in the second half, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played without rest. He played a whole 20 minutes. But he managed to rest on some possessions where he could just stand there, other guys play with the ball, and he just saves his energy for the fourth quarter, for the most important minutes to close the game. And I think Jordi Fernandez' game management deserves a lot of credit. The way he reacted to everything, the way he had his game plan prepared, the way he trusted Dwight Powell in all these switches, and how he was prepared to have a strong side help when Luka's driving to his right hand. So, yeah, great performance by Canada, well-deserved win, and they are now finally proving that Canada is becoming a real powerhouse in basketball.
I thought the plan was excellent, even though in the first half it wasn't working as well as Canada might have expected. But it's Luka Doncic, one of the best players in the world. So I love that they were influencing him to his right hand, which you might think it's his strong right hand, but forcing Luka right makes him more of a driver to the rim instead of a step back 3-point shooter. And actually, in the second half, it was working pretty well because Luka drove, I think, to the paint 3-4 times and scored only 1 bucket out of 4 driving for layups. So it's not only you are limiting him to 2-point shots and not 3-pointers, you are also making it tough for him because he has to shoot floaters over help, over Dwight Powell at the same time. So while in the first half, Luka was doing a pretty good job, passing the ball to his teammates when the double stunts came, and then they were like dribble to the paint, another kick out pass, extra pass, and they're shooting a wide open 3-pointer. So that's why they scored 50 points. In the second half, he misses those layups, and Canada get to do what they do best, defense to offense. I mean, I think they scored like 10 times, 8, 9, 10 times in the transition. After a good defensive possession, they just go out and run, and they score a layup. In the second half, that's what created for them a 10-point lead. And this is their biggest strength. I think in most of the third quarters, in the games that they won, it was exactly this. They defend pretty well, and then it's Shai, RJ Barrett, other guys running in transition. So I love that they tried to attack Luka as well a lot. Like RJ Barrett, if Luka was guarding him in the first half, in the second half, he just goes and attacks Luka and pretty much gets a layup anytime he wants. Because Luka can do everything by himself. His usage rate is so high on this team that he can play offense for 40 minutes and he can play defense. So that's smart from Canada, trying to target him. And Dillon Brooks was amazing. I thought, we all talk about these foul calls, but the way Lou Dort and Brooks were playing defense with their chests, not their hands, as opposed to what Slovenia were doing. Because Slovenia were reaching from the first minute. These guys, yeah, of course, they reached a couple of times, but for most of the time, for 90% of the time, they were playing the defense with their chests and staying in front. So that was really cool. And Shai, Nikolic is not stopping Shai Gilgeous-Alexander one-on-one. And they were not sending double teams. They were letting him cook. It's hard to stop Shai in the NBA, and you have Nikolic or some other guys from Slovenia backcourt trying to stop the guy.
For fact, let's say for fact, Jaka Blažić was thrown on him in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, but there were a lot of moments where Nikolic was guarding Shai, and it's in early transition, he's just attacking him, and that's it. It's easy 2 points.
When he does his spin move, what can you expect from a guy like Nikolic? What can he do to stop a beast like a machine like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? And I have to say, this is the most casual 30-plus point performance I've ever seen in FIBA. It seemed like he just effortlessly got 30. Like maybe if he wanted, he could get 50, but 30 was enough to win the game. So he ended up on a double-double. He's just so smooth. Obviously, now we're approaching the semifinal stage. He's the clear front runner for the MVP of the competition. But it also depends where Canada ends up. But so far, wow. He's so consistent, so cool, does all the right things, trusts his teammates, which is also very important. And it's been a pleasure to watch him play.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to watch Dillon Brooks and Luka Doncic matchup the whole time. When I rewatched the game, it didn't show everything and all the actions, all the stuff that happened around this matchup. He was under Luka's skin from the tip-off. He was always trash talking. When Luka was complaining to referees, Dillon Brooks was doing whining gestures, saying a lot of shit, to Luka and stuff. And of course, after making those 3-pointers, which were crucial again, I mean, in the last two do-or-die games for Canada, he was 6 from 8 from the 3-point line. I mean, which is crucial for Dillon Brooks and Canada.
Yeah.
And especially, I think that Slovenia could have get a lead in the first half, especially having such a great shooting night in the first 2 quarters. But when you get Dillon Brooks, I think he made like 2 threes in the first half. Lu Dort also made threes, and it looked like, you know, Slovenia defense, they took some risk on them, and you know, when these guys make those shots, it's impossible to be in front. But anyways, just to say about this matchup, I mean, of course, to Canada's advantage, referees let the physical play, so that was good for Dillon Brooks, that was good for Dort, for all the Canadians, because they're just, you know, you cannot match their physicality, especially if you're Slovenia. And actually, you know, watching Dillon Brooks being under Luka's skin and, you know, giving him so much contact and actually getting a first foul against Luka on the third quarter was a huge achievement as well. So great job by Dillon Brooks. I mean,
Hey, and
yeah, it is.
and as August said about their defense, these two guys, Dort and Brooks, the way they didn't use their hands, it's just their chest, and they absorb the contact, and you can't really push them. There was this one moment where I think Mike Tobey tried to post up Lu Dort, and after a couple of dribbles, he wasn't closer to the rim, he was further from the rim. So how can you move a guy like Lu Dort? And it's not only about them. Obviously, Canada was switching, so it was a lot of possessions where Dwight Powell would be the guy next guarding Luka Doncic on the perimeter. But what Brooks and Dort managed to do is to absolutely limit or even eliminate Luka Doncic post-ups. Like, we know he's got moves, we know he's got the strength, and he can post up almost anybody. He can post up some centers from other teams. But I think in this quarterfinal there was only one successful post up where he sort of made a quick move and just Dillon Brooks couldn't catch him, and he finished with a layup. But all the other times he just couldn't create an advantage by posting up Dillon Brooks or Lu Dort, and that was a huge thing. We know how important it is for Luka, the way he uses this as his strength even in the NBA. So Canada had all the tools to, let's say, limit Luka Doncic. I'm not saying to stop him. He still influenced the game, but they managed to limit him.
Yeah, and just how I wrote in my article before the game, I think it was the best perimeter defense and perimeter defenders that Luka Doncic ever faced in the FIBA national teams basketball. And still, with their effort, the way they play defense, and how despite them being so great, Luka Doncic scores 26 points in 29 minutes of game. Okay, he was 8 from 20 from the field, but still, I mean, that's we're talking about huge numbers. So kudos to his talent, of course.
Just my last note probably on this game and how tough it is to limit Luka and how he adjusts during the game is that, you know, he sees that Canada are switching with him in the beginning. So he sees Dwight Powell. He thinks then, okay, so let me pick out Kelly Olynyk then, if they're switching. Let's see if they're switching with him as well. Luka sees that. Luka sees Olynyk in front, tries to get him for a couple possessions in a row, and then the answer, you know, they score. Then the answer from Jordi Fernandez in the second quarter is that he takes out both Olynyk and Dwight Powell out of the game, and we see the basketball evolution completed, because in that moment in the game for Canada there was Shai, Brooks, Lu Dort, Alexander Walker, and RJ Barrett. This is 5 backcourt players, let's say position 1, 2, 3 players, all 5 at the same time on the court. No no power forward, let's say typical no center, and Slovenia also looks to that and responds. They play, I think, 4 backcourt players and 1 maybe power forward, I think there was in that game. And I was like thinking, okay, this is basketball evolution completed. 5 backcourt players at the same time. It just tells you how hard it is to play against Luka. You think of a plan, you have to adjust already in the second quarter at the beginning because he knows the weak spot of your plan. And so to limit him to, subpar shooting night and have him mad is just amazing accomplishment.
Speaking of leadership, Germany, Latvia. Watching this game, I felt like it was one of the weirdest individual performances by the leader of the team, Dennis Schroder, 4 of 26. The way he forced the game, he hit the first field goal, I think, after 12 unsuccessful attempts, and the way he tried to force those plays and those shots was so weird. And especially in the fourth quarter, there was this feeling that, okay, Latvia is reducing the lead, and the Germany's ship is sinking. And Gordon Herbert just standing on the sidelines and watching, how Dennis Schroder continues playing this one-on-one and just Dennis Schroder a nightmare basketball. And I was like, is he going to sub him?
I know we are going to have a nice discussion here with Rytis and all the guys.
I mean, I was to be honest, I was shocked, but at the same time, watching Germany making it to the semifinals of the World Cup, having a consecutive amazing FIBA performance, I didn't want to make this, Dennis Schroder's game, or let's say Dennis Schroder's nightmare. So I will try to, turn tables and say that having Dennis Schroder having the worst game of his life and Germany still qualifying to the semifinals. And I mean, not just Schroder has a bad shooting night. With him on the court, Germany was minus 20 in 13 minutes of action. And watching him play, it felt like it was 4 Germans playing against 6 Latvians. So for Germany to win that game, it just tells that how great they are. That with their best, let's say one of the best players or the main floor general playing for the other team, they still managed to win and to go to the semifinals. That's huge. So it was a very weird game. How did you feel about that?
I think people are being too harsh on Gordy Herbert, first of all, and also on Dennis Schroder. It's not like he took 26 bad shots. Okay, on the last possession, he kind of screwed up because he just dribbled the ball and passed it to Bonga, got it back with 2 seconds left, and couldn't create a good shot. And Latvia had a chance to win it. But I mean, it's not like he took 26 bad shots, 26 bad decisions. Some of these shots he usually makes. He has the confidence in himself. The team has confidence in him. Gordy Herbert trusts him. After the buzzer sounded, the whole team went to Dennis Schroder to hug him. They realized, okay, our captain, our leader, didn't perform very well today, didn't perform to his standards, but he's still our leader. In the past, he's been winning games for us. In the past, we got a Eurobasket bronze medal because of his leadership. So we're going to trust him till the end, and we're going to go with him. And let's say leaving him out of the fourth quarter was not an option. In my opinion, if Gordy Herbert does that, he doesn't have Dennis Schroder for the semifinal. And maybe that's the end of their relationship, the player-coach relationship. And maybe Dennis Schroder even retires from the national team. Who knows? We know that he has a big ego. So part of your job as a coach is also to manage personalities, not only to make basketball decisions. And he realizes that if I give this treatment to Dennis Schroder, he's not going to perform for me in the semifinal. We might have a bigger problem. We might have a chemistry issue. So we have to trust him. And he still made 2 big plays in the fourth quarter. That M1 finish, the other drive finishing with his left hand, and it was clear that the game's not going his way and he's not making shots. So maybe an option would be to have him on the court, but to have the ball more often in Franz Wagner's hands. Although they did it for 2 possessions in a row, and Latvia just packed the paint, forced Franz Wagner to pass the ball. He passed it to Voigtman. Voigtman missed an open shot. But okay, maybe that was a possible solution. But if I'm in Gordy Herbert's position, I'm probably doing the same thing. I think Gordy Herbert has more of an NBA type of approach. Old school European coaches like Pesic or any others would probably approach things differently. But that's the thing. That's how Germany plays basketball. It's a lot of iso ball. That's the way they attack the switches. Dennis Schroder has Davis Bertans guarding him after a switch. I would always take that if I'm Germany. It was just a nightmare scenario, as you said, with terrible shooting, 4 from 26. I think that he broke some anti-record of the FIBA World Cup, but anyway, I want to defend Gordy Herbert in this and Germany, and maybe now Schroeder, after feeling that these guys really trust me, will deliver his best game in the semifinal, and we will say, wow, how great he is and how great Gordy Herbert is as a coach.
I agree with you both in some way. I agree with Ritis that Gordy Herbert doesn't deserve any critics whatsoever. I thought you said the right thing. I was expecting Dennis to take different decisions in the end. I was expecting Germany to run their offense maybe through some other guy. And it's not like France was struggling. He was 5 from 8 in the whole game from the field. They actually made a run without Dennis from +3 to start the fourth quarter to +12, I think, or +10 in those 3 or 4 minutes without him. And, the plus minus in this game speaks volumes. They were -20 with him for 30 minutes. So it means they were +31, +21 in the 10 minutes he didn't play. And that's a huge difference. And I just thought, you mentioned, Dennis having Davis Bertans on him for quite a few possessions, let's say, during the game. But why, even with Davis Bertans keeping distance from you, why the hell you're shooting a step back 3-pointers after, in this moment, he is like probably 4 of 20, 4 of 21, 4 of 18, whatever. You have a speed advantage over Davis Bertans that is, I don't know, different like day and night, I couldn't manage a better reference at the moment. So it was just, for me, was the decisions, the shot selection, and I thought Germany and Dennis could go to other guys in the end because you have options. You have Wagner, you have Obst, you have Voigtman, you have so many guys that can do that. And it was just pure isolation basketball in the end, despite he was like 4 from 22.
I don't have a problem with Dennis Schroder missing 22 shots. I had a problem of him destroying the whole flow. As Augusto said, Germany had a great stretch before Dennis Schroder showed up on the court in the fourth quarter, and he finished the game being on the court. And the whole flow just changed dramatically. So that was the main issue. And as Augusto said, he took some crazy decisions how to finish some plays, and I'm not blaming Gordon Herbert at all. I mean, in his shoes, I would do the same just for the reasons Ritis mentioned, because I'm sure that in the semifinal game against the USA, he will be way different. And I also love the German players' reaction, both in the press conferences or the mix zone, having nothing to complain about Schroder. I also like that Schroder also took the responsibility of, admitting it was his worst game ever. And he also mentioned one very important thing. He stayed positive on the court. He didn't want his shooting night to translate into bad body language, which translates to his team. That's what I liked about his leadership. But I just didn't like the way he changed the flow of his team. And, Gordon Herbert just chose to go down or just finish winning the game with Dennis Schroder having this night. So
you win with your leader, you lose. You win with your leader, you lose with your leader, and I cannot imagine how Dennis feels with how the teammates have responded towards him. I know they got lucky. Davis Bertans missed a shot, but imagine how the guy has to feel. He plays the worst game of his career, they still win, and that's your teammates' reaction, that's your coach's reaction. So I can imagine he just now wants to be the best possible Dennis Schroder he can be in the semifinal, and that's huge for Germany.
And actually, we're focusing a lot on Dennis Schroder. We probably have to talk about Germany. They still won the game, so they managed to win the game somehow. I just want to say what changed the game for them was the substitutions in the second quarter. Johannes Tiemann and Moritz Wagner just started dominating physically. They sort of found Latvia's Achilles heel, and that's where they started attacking. They especially they basically put a target on Davis Bertans. I know the guy was hitting threes and had an amazing performance, but defensively, he was the target. They were targeting him, obviously. And Moritz Wagner and Tiemann, I think they allow Germany to, let's say, stabilize the situation after a poor first quarter. Also, it was great to see Franz Wagner feeling okay and playing pretty well after an injury. Sometimes it's not so easy to get back after an injury and perform on a high level. And he did it in the second half, especially. Maybe the plan was to give him a bit less minutes, but since Germany was never in a really comfortable lead, they had to play him more in the second half instead of, let's say, a defensive player like Isaac Bonga. So it was great to see Franz Wagner back on the court. For them to challenge Team USA, they need Franz close to 100% if that's possible. And yeah, what do you guys think about the last shot? Do you think that was a good decision by Davis? Should he go for other options? There's still like 3 seconds on the clock. Although for him, that's not an impossible shot. For him, that's not an impossible range. We know his abilities. So would you take it, or in a perfect world, would you look for something else?
In a perfect world, probably he makes the pass to Zagars when he gets the rebound, and Zagars does something in the last 8 seconds. But in this world where you are in the World Cup quarterfinal chaotic sequence, you choose to keep the ball to yourself. You're saying, hey, I'm the leader of the team. I'm going to decide this game.
And I hit 6 3-pointers before, so yeah.
But you know, it's Davis Bertans shooting off the catch and Davis Bertans shooting off the dribble in transition is two different things. Even though I kind of like the shot, I trust his capabilities from there. And for me, what I like about this decision is that he shoots it with 4 seconds remaining. So Latvia has a possibility, if he misses, to get an offensive rebound. And Roland Schmitz is kind of close to that rebound. You know, they could have had a chance if the bounce was a little bit different. So it's definitely not the worst shot possible for Latvia. I think it's, let's say if 100% is the best shot possible in that scenario, probably I would say 60%. And, since Germany were in bonus in foul trouble, maybe Zagars immediately attacking could have gotten then something better. But to have Davis Bertans shooting a 3-pointer and have a possibility to take an offensive rebound, that's pretty good shot in my eyes in situation like this.
Okay, and I completely agree with you. I think I'm on your side. It's Davis Bertans. He's been hot the whole game. It's not like they can contest his shot with his size. And he was 6 from 10, I believe, shooting the free. So you trust him. He's probably your, let's say, best player, your best shooter, definitely. Although what Artur Zagars has been doing, the way he kept his team in the game, it was just something else. Like, you have Daniel Theis on a switch, and Daniel Theis is known as an elite center when he's switching and guarding the perimeter. And you don't have the option to drive to your right hand, which is your strong hand. So you're forced to drive to the left. And he just blows by Daniel Theis and ends up with a really difficult high arcing shot over Daniel Theis, who's jumping as high as it's possible with his arms extended. And you're making these shots in the fourth quarter, in the quarterfinal, when your team is down by 4. Wow! Wow! I can't really understand how good he is. I'm still thinking about the player who let's say played in Kėdainiai last year. He's no Nevėžis player now. He deserves a contract and an opportunity to prove himself on a higher level team, and maybe even EuroLeague. Who knows? Maybe somewhere in Spain. But it this performance by Artur Zagars, I mean, it gets recognition from Mike James, so it's just wow. Game recognizes game.
Maybe
what
only
can
for
I
the
say?
number 55. Donatas, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I mean, Zagars 24 points, 8 assists against Germany. Not only ties, it was he was also cooking Isaac Bonga. In the previous game against Brazil, a never do or die match, 17 points. The game against France, the biggest upset early into the World Cup competition, 22 points, 5 assists. And I had just had this question for you guys, and Ritis already started, this topic. Are we talking about the EuroLeague material? Are we talking about him being a EuroLeague player already?
I mean, maybe. Although yes, EuroLeague season is different. It's a long distance, and you might not make these spectacular plays every week. You might face some struggles. I would be thinking, first of all, let's say Liga Endesa, a good solid team in Spain who maybe plays in the Euro Cup or in the Champions League. But if you have an offer from EuroLeague, Baskonia, Valencia, or whatever, well, it's a no-brainer. You take it.
Looking from team's perspective, you could have two ideas. There is a reason why Zagars played for Kėdainiai Nevėžis this season. I mean, he hasn't played a full season probably in who knows for how long. And despite being one of the best talents when he was younger, a lot of injuries. He had a lot of injuries already and pretty bad injuries with his ankle. So, Nevėžis beating Rytas for a couple of times wasn't a fluke. It was him and some other guys playing much better than the team they're playing for. But so you could think he needs a good season in Euro Cup, a good season in a domestic league like, let's say, Spain. I think he would fit perfectly in Spain. And then after a good season where he plays consistent, where he plays the majority of the games, then some EuroLeague team grabs him. But I wouldn't be surprised if some EuroLeague team says, hey, we are taking a flyer on this guy. We are betting on this guy because we love what we saw in the World Cup. And that wouldn't be stupid. I mean, this guy is cooking NBA players. And so I think it could go either way. And I'm really interested to see where he lands.
I know for sure that BC Wolves from Vilnius were, let's say, very aggressive about Zagars. They tried to sign him.
They will play in Euro Cup.
Yeah, they will play in the Euro Cup. But after this game, not sure how it will go for them because he's drawing a lot of interest. And I had a couple of conversations. Okay, not couple, few conversations. And EuroLeague people see him as the EuroLeague material already. But an interesting part is that some wouldn't be surprised if he would get a shot at the NBA, which surprised me, to be honest. But that's the feedback that I also heard from NBA people, let's say. So his stock is really hot. Somebody might make emotional decision, and it's just crazy how the competition changed the stock of this player. And speaking about his future, I just think that Zagars, he's a very talented kid, but I think that what also doesn't help him to play consistently and to stay healthy consistently is, let's say, off the floor things. And if he takes things more seriously, if he will be more disciplined, and he will look more seriously at his development, he should be fine. He had some nice stretches in Nevėžis regarding this matter. So it's a lot of is in his hands. So best of luck to this young kid. He, in my eyes, he's the biggest standout of this FIBA World Cup competition. And as Augusta said, I'm just really curious to see who will end up signing him. And now I have doubts that it will be BC Wolves.
And another man who actually increased his value during this FIBA World Cup from Latvia is their head coach. Luka Doncic was brave enough to play small ball with Latvia, to play switch all defense versus teams like Germany, France that have so much talent, and he just, I mean, the way Latvia plays on offense is just smart basketball. It's not only about the skills that, let's say, Zagars, Zoriks, or some other players have, or Schmitz being one of the best power forwards in the EuroLeague according to last season's data. But it's about how they play, and that's just smart basketball. All the players are in their best positions. The spacing is always good. There's always the extra pass. You always search for mismatches when you have, let's say, Gražulis with his confidence sky high and the way he's been playing as their main center. So the credit goes to the head coach, obviously. Without good coaching, you don't have that, because you cannot match Germany with talent. You cannot match France with talent. They faced European champions, European finalists, and European bronze medal winners. They beat the first two, and they lost only by one shot versus Germany. So what Luka Doncic has done in this World Cup is really amazing. And for example, okay, Germany goes on a run. He takes a timeout. After the timeout, they come back with a perfect pure Spain pick and roll with Davis Bertans. And that's the moment where I catch myself thinking, like, Bertans with his size and shooting abilities is like the perfect Spain pick and roll executor in the European game. Like, and yeah, so Luka Doncic has to be mentioned and has to get a lot of credit for all of this.
I just wanted to add, a lot of people in basketball say timing is everything, especially players. And I think for Zagars is the prime example and will be for a long time. You have a guy who is an injury, have an injury-riddled career, and he comes into the World Cup without a contract, plays 3 weeks of amazing basketball, and now, you are even saying NBA teams are talking about a guy who played for the 8th spot LKL team this last season. I mean, talk about changing careers, changing lives for a player. So a lot of times, we are judging a lot of guys. Maybe he didn't have a good career. This guy had a much better career. But a lot of times it's just these small decisions, small periods of time that could change, that could make or break a player's career. So in Zagars' case, this is amazing to watch, and just another example of how timing is everything in basketball.
So guys, Lithuania, Serbia, the most painful game for us Lithuanians. Also very weird game, I would say. We were expecting a close game, but unfortunately we did see Lithuania playing the worst basketball in a few weeks. And on the other side of the floor, there was this amazing Serbia led by Bogi's leadership, first of all, 18 first half points. And then Nikola Milutinov, although he had a tough beginning against Jonas Valančiūnas, it felt like he almost outmatched Valančiūnas in the rest of the game, or at least was, the best matchup for him in the center position that Valančiūnas faced. Then there were these X factors like Alex Avramovic making 4 steals in 14 minutes, Stefan Jovic basically killing us in the third quarter with his 3-point shooting, with some amazing passes, open looks that he created for his teammates. And Lithuanians, for me, they just lacked of being more sharp, more confident with their decisions. I lacked of better decision making, which also translated into hesitation shooting with the ball. So a lot of negative things from Lithuania side, a lot of positives for Serbians. What surprised you the most? And would you agree with this popular question and topic, at least in Lithuania, that Lithuania should have stopped playing basketball against Team USA in the third quarter to lose the game and to match Italy in the quarterfinals?
Absolutely not. I'm really glad we got this win against USA. It doesn't really matter if you want to win the first place, you have to beat everybody. And it just happened that Serbia played a perfect game and Lithuania played a very bad one. But Serbia made Lithuania to play in this bad way with their defense, with their aggressive defense. And, some say that the first quarter was okay. I didn't like what I saw from the first possession. Bogdan Bogdanovic getting that steal, getting an easy layup, made him feel a little bit better, going forward with his shooting, and he finished with a really great night. And I even wrote this on Twitter, and I got a response, that how first shot how first shot is important for players. And Jordan Lloyd actually responded that, yeah, it helped, but these are elite players, and even if they miss, it doesn't really happen. So I did a quick research on Jordan's. I know I'm going far with this, but I made a quick research on when Jordan Lloyd misses or makes the first shot, his point average, what looks like. And in the last season in the EuroLeague, when Lloyd missed the first shot, the average was 9.6. When he made the first shot, his average was 16.5. That's a plus 7 point difference. And usually when you make your first shot, he was going for 20 plus points. So it doesn't make, everything right conclusions, but it definitely helped Bogi that he got a layup out of this. But I thought that we got to give credit where credit is due, and it's for Svetislav Pesic. We raised questions about his decision-making, but the game plan was perfect. They were aggressive from the first moments. Alexa Avramovic was incredible, getting 3 steals in the half court, not near the rim, but on the other side of the court. That was huge. I think they made an emphasis on attacking Valanciunas in the drop. He was non-existent, basically, defending the rim against Bogi. Petrushev at the 5 was crucial. Lithuanians couldn't do anything. Pick and pops, one-on-one, catching the ball on the closeout situations. I thought Donatas Motiejunas' defense was not great at all. A lot of Lithuanians got beaten on the first step. Lithuanians were trying to deny Bogdanovic from the ball. He was just doing backdoors and getting open layups. I thought that was an issue as well. And Serbians' weak defense influenced Lithuanians' left-handed players to drive right, and that negated all of their scoring possibilities. So we were not creating a lot from, against the Milutinov pick and roll, where we said it's going to be the weak spot. So Serbia checked all the boxes basically in this game and deserved this win from first minute to the last minute. There was no question. I don't remember the score at the half. I don't think it was a big difference, but I was thinking
11 points. I would say a significant difference.
Significant,
11 points.
But and everyone was thinking maybe we could do some adjustments. We could come back. I was like, this doesn't look good at all. We tried zone and stuff like that, but Stevan Jovic punished us for the risks, and it was it. I thought Serbia are playing way too good for us to come back in this game. And we weren't hitting all the threes like we did, though only 32%, while we had 47 coming into this game.
Although we didn't create as easy looks as we did versus USA or Greece. Those were at least semi-contested shots usually, and for players like Kuzminskas and some others, those were not easy shots to make. And we didn't have Benjos as our stretch 4. He's there for shooting purposes. But I'm not using it as an excuse. That would be unfair to Serbia because they just outplayed us, and the way they were rotating defensively, it seemed like they're fighting for their lives.
Yep.
I mean, that was just something. Even, let's say, Stefan Jovic working with Brazdeikis and not allowing him to get to his spots. And also, of course, there's always a help defender prepared. And they basically forced Brazdeikis to play hero ball. And all the shots that he was taking, those were not really good shots. I mean, they forced him to his right hand. They forced him to shoot high arcing, tough shots. And he was just playing hero ball. And that's not what got us wins in previous stages, And I would say that Serbia basically exposed Lithuania's weaknesses that weren't exposed before in this competition. One of them being a lack of ball handlers. Even Alexa Avramovic stealing those balls is no coincidence. They knew that they can get those steals. They knew that our ball handlers are let's say, vulnerable, and you can press them a full court and make their life difficult. And having Avramovic with so much energy, it just worked. Also, our guards cannot attack the switch. That's obvious. We have good ball movement, we have good spacing, we create shots, we look for mismatches inside the paint. But let's say Serbia switches on defense, and you have Milutinov on Jokubaitis. Jokubaitis is not Dennis Schroder. He's not Lorenzo Brown. He's not Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, or whatever.
He's a pick and roll guy.
He's a pick and roll player. He doesn't attack the switch. He doesn't play one-on-one. We don't have players that play one-on-one. Only Brazdeikis. But with this hero ball, with free bodies on him, he ended up with 3 field goals from 11 or something like that. So they exposed all of our weaknesses, and also they were better prepared mentally. I mean, the lack of discipline was clear watching Lithuania, and at some moments I actually got angry during the game because they used their 4 fouls the way they're supposed to be used, to stop the fast breaks after your own turnover, after a long rebound or whatever. We couldn't use our 4 fouls. It was painful to see Guduric driving to his left and finishing with a layup while we were on 2 team fouls. And we gave away like 10 or 12 cheap points in the same manner. And if you want to win a quarterfinal versus a tough team like Serbia, you cannot afford that. And yes, it didn't help. We didn't have a good shooting night, but we all said and agreed that our shooting is not sustainable. What we did versus Greece and the USA, it was impossible to expect to have the same numbers, although in the first quarter, Valančiūnas hit a free, so the Kerskis hit a couple, and it seemed like, okay, it's continuing. So just hats off to Serbia, Coach Pesic, the way they were prepared. Again, they've proven that they are real warriors when they go on that court and they play for Serbia in a quarterfinal. Mentality is also a big thing. And Bogdanovic, as you said, not only the first layup, he got some easy points from backdoor cuts, and Normantas had problems guarding him, let's say. And when you get, let's say, 6 points out of your layups, then it becomes easier for you to hit a long-range shot because you feel more confidence and everything. I think he scored 18 in the first half. He didn't score as much in the second because they found other options. And okay, those Stefan Jovic 3-pointers that Blata said basically killed us, those were our risks, let's say. There's not much you can do. You go under the screen, you give him that shot, he makes it. After that, he makes a spot-up shot. Then you go double Milutinov in the post to help, and you just leave Jovic wide open. He gets the ball back and hits another one. But at that point of the game, we were already in trouble. We were down by 12 or 14, so it's not like Jovic misses and we win the game. But I agree that basically it almost killed us. There were some attempts to save ourselves in the fourth quarter, some, let's say, a very small lineup with Sedekerskis as a 5, but that was just too late. We couldn't do anything, and Serbia was just too strong for us on the night.
Yeah, I'm still taking this victory against Team USA. I already mentioned on the previous podcast the impact of those wins that makes for future generations, and just for this team, for the coaching staff, for all these players to beat Team USA is something that happens once in a lifetime, and they should have this privilege to enjoy the game, to enjoy the night of the tournament. And I'm taking this game because I don't like why so many people ruled out Italy as a serious opponent, because the way we played, when we had a bad shooting night as well, I didn't see us winning against Italy at all. And Italy is a serious good team. You can argue which is better, which is a more stronger opponent, but I didn't like the fact how a lot of Lithuanians written them off. But yeah, at the end, I'm just proud of this team, proud of this group. They exceeded expectations, not just in Lithuania, but I would say in front of all this worldwide basketball community. It was a journey to remember. We're all gonna remember this journey as well, and this victory against Team USA. And I mean, it is what it is. We lost to a better opponent, and playing this way, we would have lost to anybody basically. So
I don't necessarily agree with that. With Italy, we would face different challenges, different defensive tactics and, let's say, a different lineup. So I cannot say that if we play like this, we lose to Italy. Now it's impossible to prove a point here, but I don't agree that the same things would happen and we lose to Italy the way we lost to Serbia. But whatever. We're not picking opponents. We had the opportunity to beat USA. The guys did it. I'm happy for them. Unfortunately, now we end up playing for the 5th place, which doesn't give you a spot in the Olympics. So it's just basically you're playing for your honor. But I still hope to see our guys prepare for these games and represent our country the way they should.
Italy, Team USA, is it even
hey man, I have to say all of our words, everything that we said in our quarterfinals predictions was evident on the court. Italy was a very comfortable opponent for Team USA.
Yep.
And since they were serious enough to start defending from the beginning of the first quarter, they just got their lead early, and that's it. I think the game was over in the middle of the second quarter. It didn't help that Italy couldn't make shots. It didn't help that Fontecchio struggled in the first half. But I'm just grasping at straws. There's no big difference whether you lose by 30 or 20 or what. Italy was a really comfortable opponent for Team USA, and also Americans, even without Anthony Edwards' contribution, basically, created shots easily, passed the ball, ran to fast breaks, alley-oops, dunks, spectacular plays, blocks. It seemed like the dream team of 92 Barcelona Olympics when Haliburton ran, and through the legs he threw a pass, alley-oop pass to Banchero. It was showtime. So and there's not much to talk about.
You know, Rytis, I'm not going to add anything about the game. You said it perfectly. But this was the situation you mentioned in the end with Halley throwing a between the legs lob pass to Banchero. And I still, get a lot of Italian people on my social feeds. So I saw that Italian people took this as an offense. And I'm like, what are you talking about, guys? It doesn't matter what's the score at the moment. This is basketball game, and basketball is a form of entertainment. This is the sport, and they are taking it as an offense. Like, these guys are creating show. It doesn't matter if they are down 20 or they're up by 20. I mean, that was a beautiful basketball play. I mean, just as you want to see a step back 3-pointer after a nice dribbling, that's the equivalent to it. I mean, what's the reason? They're saying like it's a 2-on-0. You just make a layup or a dunk and that's it. So yeah, they made a dunk, but why do you care how they made the pass? Like it could have been off. So are you going to be mad if it's a pass off the backboard? I don't understand this logic behind this, and it was a beautiful basketball play, everywhere in the highlights. I enjoyed it. If they made it against a Lithuanian team, I would be, wow, this is a super nice play. Only USA can do this.
Maybe they got too emotional because that was Banchero who finished the play. Maybe,
I'm not sure. They got emotional. I think they got emotional after Mikal Bridges that threw 3 fingers towards Gigi Datome. That wasn't a gun though, dude.
No, that's what he does all the time after making a free. It's just that he did it straight to his face, which is kind of inappropriate.
I'm not saying it's appropriate. I'm not saying it's appropriate, but some people thought it was a gun sign, and that definitely wasn't. They even showed the replay. It's 3 fingers. It hit celebration in the NBA. Obviously, doing it directly to Gigi Datome's face, that's a technical. I agree absolutely with this, but I think Italians got emotional after this moment, and then the situation after and their reaction was just the result of this moment and the result and all of that.
But once again, Italy had an amazing journey as well. We didn't see them winning the second group's phase. Not many saw them winning that group phase with Serbia. They were kind of unlucky facing Team USA quarterfinals, and who got emotional was, of course, Gianmarco Pozzecco. amazing press conference, and especially Nicola Melli. He also had some strong words, and just wanted to give a credit to the coaching staff of Italy. You know, a lot of people on the highlights, we see Gianmarco Pozzecco only, but there are a lot of assistant coaches helping Gianmarco Pozzecco building the game plan, making in-game adjustments. And what's funny about this group is that all the assistant coaches came to the press conference as if some bodyguards of Gianmarco Pozzecco. And, you know, I was like, you know, there are no referees. He's not going to be ejected. So there's no need to put all these security forces in the press conference. But probably it's just their thing, you know, being together everywhere. I even remember last year in Eurobasket when there was a pre-game press conference, all the assistant coaches were there as well. So yeah, it's just interesting phenomenon of Italian basketball with the coaching staff that they have, and they're all doing a great job, and back-to-back years to make it to the top 8, first in the Eurobasket and now World Cup. It's a huge thing. I wish them finally to, you know, make this step forward, but probably they're paying this, you know, for 2004 Olympic victory against Lithuania in semifinals. All that luck that they're missing now was in that gym, in that arena.
You're saying it like they did something unfair to us. They just made shots. Come on, man. I know it hurts, but it's 19 years ago. Let it go.
Nah, I don't care, to be honest. From that game, I fall in love with Italian basketball because of that shooting night. So
okay, man.
Only respect to our friend Italians, and let's finish the podcast with our predictions. First, Serbia and Canada will start semifinals. What do you think about that game?
Wow, that's gonna be a hell of a game, and I think out of the 4 teams left, Serbia is different. Like, we have 3 teams that play the modern day basketball, NBA style of basketball, let's say. And Serbia is old school, but also they have the talent. So yeah, it's a really tough game to predict, but I think that Serbia beating Lithuania, now already qualifying for the Olympics, puts them in such a good position mentally. They will definitely be prepared. They will definitely be up for it. And I'm going to go with Serbia. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP of the tournament. I think Canada has been great. But let's remember they were walking on thin ice playing Spain. They were really close to being eliminated. And they lost to Brazil. They had problems shooting the ball. Now versus Slovenia, they didn't face the same issues, but they didn't face really tough defense that Serbia can offer. So yeah, I do believe that Canada are the favorites, but I'm going to predict Serbia in the final.
Wow. I'm going to go with Canada, although I like that, you know, Serbia has a huge advantage in Milutinov, I think, in this game. His post-ups against Dwight Powell, you know, if Canada want to play with Kelly Olynyk, I know Milutinov might have an issue, you know, if he's, you know, if they play Canada play pick and roll, but inside, I think they have a huge advantage with him. But at the same time, they have Lou Dort and Dillon Brooks to put on Bogdan Bogdanovic. So it's going to be a really, really interesting battle of different, I think, defensive schemes. But I just think in games like this, where probably defense is going to decide who wins, Canada has more to offer, a little bit more. And their defense to offense transition basketball is something that separates them from all the other guys, even though Serbia do a great job of it as well. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a really close game, but Canada prevailing in the end, since they have the best player on the court, and I think they have a bit better defense.
I love Canada. I love their roster. I love the way they fit to FIBA basketball. I love the coaching staff, Jordi Fernandez, and I think that Boniface Ndong is under the coaching staff. I think I saw him in the mix zone. But I'm also going with Serbia. But I'm going with Serbia because Milutinov, that's the list that I have for my arguments to go with Serbia. I mean, I agree that Canada is more talented team. I think that, let's say, they're favorites to win this one, but Milutinov will play a huge role against Canada centers. I think Serbia is more physical, way more physical than Slovenia, so I expect a better defense. They don't depend on one player so much as Slovenia does. Serbians are emotional. They're emotional, but they handle emotions way better and won't get so much into these distractions by Dillon Brooks, referees, or against the whole world. And I just cannot see Dillon Brooks, shooting threes so successfully as he did in the last previous two previous games. So, there's point there. There's another point over there, and overall, I see Serbia a little bit sensationally going to the finals.
Okay. I mean, Dillon Brooks might not shoot, but Kelly Olynyk had a pretty subpar game scoring wise in the quarterfinals. He might have a huge word in the semifinals. So who knows? I also liked how Alexander Walker had a nice run in the second quarter, and then I had a 3-pointer in the second half. He was huge as well. So Canada has weapons. Serbia also. I like that our opinions are diverse here. So I'm really waiting for the semifinal.
Germany and USA. Are we going to share the same opinion?
Now,
but I feel that we might.
I have a really precise prediction. 111, 105, high scoring game. Team USA takes the W. Anthony Edwards scores 42 points. And 42. We will be
beats the record of the United States.
We will be entertained. And I do believe that USA will advance to the finals. Although, again, I'm expecting a bounce-back game from Dennis Schroder. And Germany has a lot of weapons. I said it on air, and to me, Germany looks like a club. The way the team is built, it seems like a GM was picking the players. Because in national team basketball, teams have flaws. Like some team lacks a good center, some team lacks a good point guard, some team lacks depth. Germany has everything. It looks like there was a general manager who was just signing players with contracts and put them all together and signed a head coach, Gordy Herbert. But as nice as they are, as good as they are, as much as I like them, I still believe that Team USA will win this semifinal.
I believe the way USA are playing, I mean, they were much more focused in a quarterfinal than versus Lithuania. They played great defense from the start. So they are going to take this seriously from the first minute. They have so many weapons. They're playing better, I would say, in every game. And probably they are the favorites in my eyes as well. But here, just like I went against the logic with Luka versus Australia, against my own logic. So I'm going to go here as well with Germany. I think it's going to be a huge bounce back game for Dennis. I would like to see France a little bit more healthy, let's say. He's probably still feeling the pain. He's probably playing, with painkillers or something. And it's good that he had one game under his legs already in the quarterfinal, but he wasn't as active as he was, when he was more healthier. So I hope to see him, let's say, more ready for the semifinal because they will need him a lot. And Germany has the off-ball movement and the sets that involve a lot of navigating through screens. Let's say one of their most sets efficiency that worked even yesterday was they play a pick and roll to the left side, and on the right side there is a pin down screen for Andy Obst or Franz Wagner, and he can curl. And this is an off-ball action that I think USA will have a lot of trouble dealing with. So I'm predicting a really high-scoring game as well, but I think Germany could have a surprise here and be in the final.
Going with Germany as well, Dennis Schroder for sure will bounce back. As you said, Franz Wagner, it took some time for him to adjust, with his body, with his ankle, to feel the game again after missing 4 or 5 FIBA World Cup games. It's tough. But now having this better game rhythm, some practices, he should be better for the game against the United States. And I think that Germany is, I would say, as much as perfectly fitted to match up USA as Canada, but the huge advantage is that they have is their chemistry that they built from the Eurobasket 2022. So I hope that Team USA will be a little bit more relaxed compared to the game against Italy, and that's when Germany will hit them and they crush them and they're gonna make to the finals. So I didn't expect to see Germany and Serbia in the finals of the World Cup before the tournament, and I feel weird about potentially seeing this matchup, but these are my predictions for semis.
I think both semifinals are so close. I mean, maybe Serbia, Canada, I would say is like 55-45, even 50-50. Germany, USA is, I would say, 60-40, maybe at the most for USA. So, but yeah, these teams are, every team is so balanced well. Every team is playing great basketball. So every team has something to offer, like an advantage over looking at the other team's weaknesses. So just can't really wait for semifinals. It's going to be 2 great matches, I believe.
Okay, guys. So thank you all for your insights. Follow all the World Cup action on basketnews.com. Please press like button below this video and subscribe basketnews.com YouTube channel. Follow us on social media, on Instagram and Twitter, and just enjoy the semifinals. It's going to be exciting, and we will get back to you soon after the semis to share our takes about those 2 games and also to give our predictions for the final. It's crazy to think that we're just basically 4 games away of finishing the World Cup, but yeah, I'm kind of happy it's going to
I see that you're not counting also the games for 5th, 8th place. So
nope.
All right.